Marvelous. I figured it out every time, Sharniya. I don't know how I forget where the recording's at. How.
I'd be the same.
Somehow I forget, but we're live and we're here and we're direct. And I'm really pleased to have you on the show today as a friend of Coffee with Kofi. How are you doing first and foremost before I launch into any preliminaries?
I'm really good. Thank you for having me.
Nah, it's my absolute pleasure. And I know we scheduled this now because you've just been away or you're going away. Have you just got back from somewhere?
I recently got back. So 2 weeks ago, I got back from Sri Lanka, which was a beautiful experience.
Ah, wow. Like somewhere that is definitely on my list. I hear the food is spectacular. The weather is
Push it to the top of your list. I do have one complaint. They need some more breeze. It may have been the time of year that I went, so I don't want to denigrate the whole season, but they needed a little more breeze. But other than that, stunning, lovely beaches. I got to swim with turtles, beautiful waterfalls, palm trees everywhere, and the food was very nice.
okay. Well, I think we need a separate blog for this one because the travel adventures of Sharniya Ferdinand. But
You
only
can
look,
keep up.
I can't keep up. But we'll do a brief intro. I'll do a brief intro and then I'll pass over to you because that's really why people are going to be tuned in. It's not to hear about this, but you. So my introduction goes as follows. Today, I'm deeply delighted to share a coffee with someone whose journey is purposeful and inspiring. Sharniya Ferdinand is the strategic partnership inclusion lead, get my words out, for NatWest Bank's Accelerator. Sharniya grew up in Birmingham, navigated her way through a psychology degree, a master's in event management, and most recently over a decade in financial services. Somewhere along the way, Sharniya found her calling to champion those who too often get overlooked whilst building supportive partnerships to elevate businesses. Multi-talented, as you're definitely going to hear, Sharniya not only leads on strategic partnerships, but is a conference facilitator, public speaker, Rising Star Award winner, and passionate advocate for the global majority, aka the ethnic minority in the UK, but global majority in the world. Just saying. Uh, for the global majority business owners and diverse professionals. Today's guest is living, breathing proof that when you lean into your values, the path has a way of revealing itself. So grab your coffee, water, whatever beverage works for you, and get comfortable and let's sip into that inspiration. Welcome and thank you once again for joining us, Sharniya.
Thank you. Honestly, when you read out all of that, I was like, I don't think I told you any of this. You do your homework.
I do, but it was fact checking because I do believe in fact checking. Was any of it incorrect that you want to correct me on?
That's how I remember it. So no, I don't think it was incorrect.
Yeah, brilliant. So my people can stay hired for just that little bit longer because the research was for research. That's good. So as I said, I want to pass over to you, and my first question is a bit of an icebreaker just to set the scene and give some context. And I would like to ask you, no pressure, but a bit of pressure, in 60 seconds or less, to share your origin story, just to give us the context of who we're listening to today.
60 seconds or less. The thing is, working in the Accelerator, we're always told that we need to have our 60-second pitch, which I probably don't have, but that's usually about my job. But my origin story, or my villain story, as some people might come to know it later. Um, grew up in Birmingham. I am the descendant of Caribbean grandparents. Whenever anyone asks me where I'm from, I say all the islands because my mom's parents are Jamaican, dad's mom's from St. Kitts, dad's dad was from Anguilla. Very proud of my Caribbean heritage. I grew up in an area of Birmingham that where I was the minority. And although I didn't know it at the time, I think that probably has really shaped the work that I've gone on to do and the things that I am passionate about in particular. I loved singing as a child. There's probably a fun fact that I don't tell many people about, although I'm trying to elevate it more. I do sing now, but when I was a child, I literally just listened to music, particularly Mariah Carey, Christina Aguilera, Whitney Houston. And I have a big family. My mom's one of 6 children, so I grew up around a lot of cousins. I'm the oldest cousin, so I'm the bossy one, apparently, but I'm also the organized one, is what I would say. And yeah, I think the rest you got, like, you got the fact that obviously I went to university, studied psychology, studied halfway through my degree, decided that psychology probably wasn't for me, albeit I've always been very interested in people and that interest continues. But then I moved into events management because I wanted to bring people together. So a lot of those things I think have shaped, again, the work that I've gone on to do and the things that I really enjoy. And it's nice sometimes to reflect back and realize I've always been me. And actually, I haven't changed. And some of the things I've always enjoyed, I still really enjoy to this day. I'll stop there because it's probably been more than 60 seconds.
No, you didn't. You did it. I was keeping an eye. I was
You were
wow.
timing. Excellent.
You absolutely did it and nailed it and brought so much to life about, you know, your origin story, and then in terms of being from all the islands. I love that. In terms of being the eldest cousin, I love that. The bossy one, I love that. I also really enjoyed hearing about the pivots between the courses that you did, which the way you put it, you've always been you, you know, you've always been you. And that's really one of the reasons I love doing these conversations, because it's sometimes it's about becoming, but really becoming you and becoming aware of what you are. So, and what you believe in. So brilliant. So second question that I have for you is, how did the freedom of growing up with supportive parents who didn't necessarily push you down a specific path sort of shape your decisions looking back?
I love that you frame it as freedom. I think at the time I felt like it was a lack of support, but no. I think my parents, I know that there's this rhetoric that for Caribbean, African families in particular, there's a you must do this, you must do that. And I would say that my dad's side of the family were very focused on the fact that I had to be good at maths, which I probably rebelled a bit because I was good at maths, but I always said that I didn't like it, even though I was good at it. And going on to work for a bank, although my job's not maths based, actually, maybe there's some deeper psychology there I haven't yet explored. But my mom was always very much like she wanted me to, I think, find my passions and as you say, I guess allowed me the freedom to explore those things. And when I was at school, it was very much more on the creative side. So singing, as I mentioned, dancing, those were things that I spent a lot of time doing and spent a lot of time enjoying. I think having that freedom has been good for me because it's helped me to forge a path that has felt authentic, albeit if I were to posit a slight complaint, I think that not necessarily having that freedom also meant that sometimes I felt like I was winging it, which I am very good at. But I think that for some people, knowing the path that they want to go down, you can almost make that plan. But equally, I think for me, the not having that 5-year, 20 million point plan has meant that I've been able to shape spaces and shape like mold roles to help me to focus on what do I need to grow in, but also bring in a lot of myself and bring in a lot of what I'm good at to the work that I do. And I enjoy now as an adult. I think I'm very much that type of influence for some of my younger cousins and those cousins' children. I'm more about what is it you enjoy, what are you good at. The advice that I give when I volunteer at schools is that go follow your passion, because I think that that's ultimately the thing that will help you to create. I don't like to use the word success because I think success means different things for different people, but for your own version of success, I think passion has to walk hand in hand with that.
You put it well. You put it really well. And I picked out the nuance between sort of freedom, but in my words, direction as well.
Yes. Yes.
I really heard that sort of just there with, which we don't know what we don't know, right? At the end of the day. And so it's all well and good saying, go and do your thing. But what are the things I could even begin to do sometimes would be helpful to know. So
No, 100%. And I think that when we talk, particularly in a corporate space, about the different upbringings that people had based on usually socioeconomic background, there is a lot of focus on that having access to specific networks and being able to introduce, your children to certain people who can give them an opportunity, which not every family has the has the privilege to experience. But I do think that when I reflect on those traditional careers that are very much like admired by Black and Asian families, it is because they're well known and they're well trodden. But actually, I think, particularly in the space that we're in now, we're seeing so much change. We're seeing so much. And I try to go moments without using the letters, the first letter of the alphabet, and I can't remember what the other letter of the alphabet is. So I won't use the letters specifically, but we're seeing so much more rhetoric about that. But I think that's going to have so much impact on the types of roles that exist. And so these well-trodden careers, while they will still exist, there are also so many opportunities where new jobs are created. And even the job I do now, my job didn't exist 3 years ago. And so I think that for younger generations coming up, I think there is so much beauty in knowing that actually the thing that I might end up doing might be something that doesn't even exist yet. And I can have a hand in shaping that and creating that is something that's exciting for those who don't want to go down the traditional route.
100%. I think it's the agency that we can have in our own destiny, and it's empowering, but also really come back to the liberation word, liberating to know that there isn't one size fits all. And definitely nowadays, I don't believe there's this one and done career situation.
Oh, definitely not.
So yeah, no, perfect. I knew this was gonna be good. I love it. I'm already getting that. Oh, this is so exciting because you're shaping this really beautifully in terms of your experiences that hopefully, and I no doubt will inspire other people to find their own way. So I'm often fascinated, aka nosy, about
We're all nosy. It's okay.
no, I'm owning it. Today I'm owning it. About the degree choices that people make. You touched upon it earlier, but I'd love to just delve into that because depending on where people are, where they're listening to this, they may be at the point where they're about to choose their studies, or they are in something, or they've come out of something and thought, well, I did this thinking it was going to do that, but now I don't really know. So the question was, can you share what led you to study psychology initially and then, pivot to event and exhibition management? I heard the people bit, but just help us when you were choosing, like what went through your head and what were you thinking you were going to do with that?
Yeah, so bringing it back to my long evolved skill of winging it almost. And I don't advocate this for everyone, but as I mentioned, when I was at school, I was super passionate about singing, about dancing, about creative arts, performing arts. Unfortunately, as much as my family were supportive of me pursuing different pursuits and avenues, I think this is where probably the lack of direction and the lack of connections and just the lack of knowing, as you said, you don't know what you don't know. And I do think now when I have a friend who uses this phrase all the time, she says the dots always connect when you look back. But at the time, I'm going back to my 16-year-old self who was making these choices. I ultimately chose not to pursue that career more from a space of lack of self-confidence, which was a really big shame because when I think about it, I'm like, I could have, who knows what my life would have turned out had I gone down that route. However, having said that, I'm someone who has a great many interests, and actually one of my downfalls that I talk about is the fact that because I like to do so much and I like a variety of different things, sometimes I'm a bit too magpie, like we talked about this before we started this. I'm very much like, oh, this shiny thing, this shiny thing, this shiny thing. And it means that I have a really full life, but it also means that it's that kind of jack of all trades, master of none type rhetoric. Anyway, bringing it back, at the time that I was making choices about my A levels, I was really considering should I try to go down the performing arts route. But because of, I think, of at the time, a lack of confidence in probably my own abilities, but also a lack of real encouragement that no, you should absolutely pursue that, I probably went for more of what was a slightly safer option and felt like an option that would have been more marketable from a broader career perspective, in all honesty. I can't believe I was thinking that sensibly when I was 16 and 17. I've got to be honest now, but I clearly was. And I was really good at English. I was always quite interested in psychology and human behavior and why people did what they did. I was really interested in biology at school. So I went to A level and essentially studied those three things. And it was through my A level studies of really taking to psychology. I had an interest, wasn't sure if I'd love it, but then I studied A level and really took to it and found it really fascinating. That was essentially the reason why I decided to continue on and pursue a degree in psychology, because I always had this, I think I had this sense in the back of my mind that I would like to help people, I'd like to understand people, I'd like to do more in that space. And through, as I mentioned, sort of studying psychology at degree level. And I don't know if it's because of the way the degree is set. It's a Bachelor of Science, or I did a Bachelor of Science. And so it was probably more focused on the research element of psychology than it was on the counseling therapy element of psychology. And I think through that, that probably at the time of my life, I was what, between sort of 19 and early 20s, because I knew I didn't want to go down the research element. I pivoted because ultimately I think I just decided I don't know if this is for me, and I don't know if it is something I would enjoy. And I've always been very, I use the word passion, and I think it is passion, but I'm also very a big advocate of joy and doing the thing that feels good and feels right. I think there's so much negative in the world. We don't have to force ourselves into situations that feel negative. Beside that, I'm very much an advocate for the pursuit of joy. And it was through a conversation with my auntie, who also coincidentally studied psychology. She's a very big inspiration for me. We talked about what else could I do? What do I enjoy doing? And it was through a conversation with her that she was like, you love bringing people together. You love organizing things, being the bossy one. Remember the bossy cousin again. And I think that's where the inspiration came for. Actually, event management is something that could be a really nice avenue for me. And ultimately, I don't want to go into super detail because we don't have all day, but through my career, even in the role I do now, I still use those skills and still utilize that kind of learning that I took. So everything that I've studied and learned now, again, connecting the dots back from before, it's all really helped me to come to the space that I'm working in now, which is incredible. And sometimes you think you're just making a decision on the fly, but I do believe that there is some kind of divine guidance that is navigating us to where we're supposed to be.
Oh no, I couldn't agree more. So many things there, and we'll probably have to pick up on them offline, as they say, because I love this idea about following your joy. Like Marie Kondo talks about, picking up some clothing and does it spark joy or does it not? And then getting rid of it. I've done it with my wardrobe because, you keep things in there because you're like, oh yeah, but I need something on one day, but it doesn't, you're not going to wear it. So get rid of it. And if you can, center your life around the people, places, and pursuits that uplift you
Yes.
more than not. So I've got, I reckon 98% of the time I'm in that space.
That's good.
No,
That's a high percentage.
yeah, no, I don't rest. If the feng shui is not feng shui, and I'm out. I just need the Michael Jackson moonwalk and backwards. It takes me a while to figure it out, but if it's not, then I'm not. Because life is short, you know what I mean? And so there's some challenges, but I like the idea of you sort of following what felt right at a given moment in time. But also what you say is something I super, super believe in, which is that actually life is lived forward. So you wake up, you put one foot in front of the other, and you do what you do and make the decisions in terms of what's in front of you. But it's only when you start to look back that you realize everything that you've done has helped you become who you are and put you where you are today. So like you said, I make these decisions and I think it's on the fly, but I think you're tapping into universal intelligence,
Yeah.
also your own internal like cross-pollination of you did a bit of that, you did a bit of this, you did a bit of that. So you now can pick from this menu of subconsciousness, like, that would actually work? Forgetting where you got the theory from, but and it works, right? So,
Yeah.
brilliant. I love that. I loved how you put that. Thank you. So actually, I wanted to just bust into your career a bit more. I'm not going to try and say it again because it was a mouthful for me. I nearly messed it up. But strategic partnerships, I'm going to go with that bit because I could say that. What is your role? What does your role encompass now? Just to give people a bit more flavor around that, because that may bring to life a bit about what you're saying about how you use the different parts of your past in your present.
Yeah, so what my role encompasses now, and again, it's another long story, and forgive me, I won't go too deep into the detail, but try and give the highlights. Essentially, through I fell into working for the bank a number of years ago, had a number of different roles, experiences, moved into business banking. And at the time that I started in business banking, again, I feel like inspiration is a word I use often, but I am often inspired by the people around me, the things I see. Ultimately, we had a team that really focused on women in business, female founders, how we better support those audiences. And being a Black woman, I was inspired by that work, but also thinking about the narrative around why we were doing that work. It was all about the additional barriers that women face. And as a Black woman, I very much am aware of the additional barriers that our communities can tend to face in the workplace and in entrepreneurship. And so I, at the time, started really advocating for. I love the work that we do. Can we do more? Can we do it for these groups, for the global majority in the UK? And started just running with organizing networking events and bringing people together, and again bringing that back to the being interested in people, loving like events, bringing people together. That was kind of the catalyst, I think, for the journey that I've then been on in the last, let's call it, decade, and where I've ended up today. So just holding that as that was the spark of this work, that led to me leading on our work around sort of minoritized ethnic entrepreneurship in the UK. I got the opportunity to work with Aston University, who have a Centre for Research in Ethnic Minority Entrepreneurship. And we co-created a research paper together called Time to Change. You can Google it, Time to Change, Aston University, that really delves deeply into the experience of minoritized ethnic entrepreneurs in the UK, but also, more importantly than that, what the opportunity is and what more can be done and what better can be done. Worked on that for a number of years and still work with the university quite closely. But ultimately, in the last year or so, where we've had some evolutions at work, my new role was created where I work in Accelerator, which is all about supporting entrepreneurs. And essentially, my role has a variety of functions, but the key ones are that we ensure that the Accelerator is an inclusive space and that we are thinking about how everything we do is open to entrepreneurs and really supportive of entrepreneurs, but also we think about providing tailored opportunities. And that's what we do with our partners for female founders, for ethnic minority founders, for founders who have disabilities. And ultimately, it's really just trying to think about our general business support, but also where there are those additional challenges that some may face, how we can bring people together, how we can provide more tailored opportunities for those groups as well. And that's the work that I lead on, and I love to do.
Wow, that is awesome. Like, it's so awesome. The way I mean, it's your job, so I expect you to be able to talk about it. But the way you've been able to build the case for it, and that inspiration that came from you seeing what was being done for female founders and the narrative around why it was important, and then being able to use that knowledge and experience gained to say, like, why don't we look at other communities and constituencies and see what we can do there? Is yeah, it makes me smile. You know, I'm gonna get a t-shirt like, what would Sharniya do? Because that's great. You know, it's like just spreading the support and the sort of joy of what business can be for everyone. So you've really answered the next question that I had, which is around the advocacy bit, and sort of the seeing the barriers. But I wanted to ask a bit more about where that inspiration kind of comes from, because you mentioned it's been a decade and you've done lots of different things, but where does the inspiration come from to show up and want to do this work? Because I imagine some conversations will be positive and people will get it, and other conversations will be less. But how do you keep yourself going through the ups and downs that I presume are inevitable? Tell me if I'm wrong, because you might work in a nirvana. So.
You're not right. It's not an easy question to answer. I think I think there's a number of things that probably keep me going. One is, rightly or wrongly, I think I feel a deep sense of responsibility. Maybe it's because I'm the oldest child and I was always told you have to look after your cousins. And obviously we're all just a network of cousins, aren't we? So I think it's that inherent feeling of responsibility to my community and to other communities that are similar to mine, knowing the experiences. I've been really, or quite fortunate, I should say, actually, in my experience growing up in the UK. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I have never experienced any kind of negativity, but for the most part, when I think about what I hear from some people and what I've actually personally experienced, I know that I've I've been quite fortunate and privileged. But I think even more so because of that, that makes me want to help other people to have more experiences like I've had rather than the alternative. And so that I think that sense of responsibility and innate wanting, and I know that life is not the exact same for everybody, and the concept of fairness is probably really optimistic, but ultimately, why can't people go and think that they can achieve what they want to achieve? Why can't people like go through work and have really positive experiences with their colleagues? Why can't people start a business and build it and grow it and scale it into £1 million business just because of the particular area they come from or the background they come from or not having those networks? So I don't see why that should be a thing, albeit we know it is. So I think just wanting to make the world a better place is one thing. I think the other thing for me that has been really positive, and again, it's probably that coming back to that being really interested in people and connecting with people. I'm really lucky that throughout my career, I've met a number of amazing individuals who they always say, find your tribe. And I love that concept. But on those days where I am tired and I am waking up and I'm feel like I'm pushing, but maybe it's that Sisyphus is the Greek god that was punished to have to roll the rock up the hill, and then it rolls back down every day, right? So that Sisyphean effort, love that word. Some days that Sisyphean effort does feel harder to carry than others. But I think having a community of people that I can reach out to and just have a real conversation with, because you can't have a real conversation with absolutely everyone. And I don't think you're supposed to. But when you could just let the mask off and be like, this is how I'm feeling, this happened, that happened, I'm frustrated. And then whether it's they're holding you or they're sharing their own frustration. So you almost feel, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not crazy in my experience. I'm not making all of this up. That can help lighten the load. And then I think the other piece of the puzzle is that I've got to be honest, as much as there are hard parts of the job, I am really lucky that I also get to have some incredible experiences. And through the work that I've done over the last 10 years, I have, I don't know, I've been to the House of Lords, which was not something the 5-year-old Sharniya, who grew up in an area called Chelmsley in Birmingham. For anyone in Birmingham, you'll know why I'm calling it out specifically, ever thought that she would be in certain spaces through her job. I've been to a number of awards events. I've met some incredible people. I've met some really inspirational entrepreneurs. I've worked with some just really visionary people who are such a joy to be around. And so, on balance, there are some lows, but there are some incredible highs as well. But I think the thing that ultimately I keep coming back to that keeps me going is that I don't have any children, but if I were to have a mini Shania, what kind of space would I want them to be able to grow up in?
Yeah. Making the world a better place. Inspiration from visionaries and people doing wonderful things. Opportunities to be in spaces that 5-year-old you would have been like, what the heck? And lastly, but not least, I had in there finding that tribe that sustains you, sometimes reassures you that is worth carrying on with that new word. I love this. Sisyphean effort. Sisyphean effort. This word. Oh,
There you go. I love a Greek mythology, you know. I'm very excited to go and watch the Odyssey when it comes out.
this is brilliant. And I think maybe I should have done psychology too, because I just really find it fascinating, you know, how people think and make the decisions that they do and the interests that they have. And if before this I said, what one thing would I be surprised to know? It's Greek mythology is a thing for you as well. I didn't know that at all.
I
I
don't
didn't
think,
do
to be
more
fair, I
research.
don't think many people would know that. I'm a little bit of a geek, you know.
Right, to believe it. I can actually believe it. So one of the things that I'd come across was this network, or these events, Black Visibility is Power
Mhm,
events. Do you
mhm.
still lead on that? Is that something that's out there that's happening?
In all honesty, probably not as proactively as it should be. It was the brainchild of a colleague, well, an ex-colleague now, and I to bring together the Black networks of multiple organizations. You know, I think one of the great things about working in a corporate organization is, and again, being able to have the opportunity to go to different networking events, is you meet lots of people. And we had this idea that we we don't, or I wasn't aware of at the time, and a network that brought together like all corporate organizations networks. So we did a few events over a few years where we did that in London, we did it in Birmingham. Unfortunately, at the moment, it's not something that we're proactively doing, but it is something that I'm still really passionate about. And actually, our own bank's Black Professionals Network continues to work with an organization called CBERG, which is City Black Employee Resource Groups,
Yeah.
specifically in London. And so there are the like that kind of work is still happening. And last year we hosted an event with another organization for Black History Month. So there is still work, and I'm still supporting some of the work in the background, albeit not actively doing the BVIP events. But you know, in the future we may bring it back.
That's fair enough. Because what I was wondering was the mission behind it. I know it was there, and it's kind of I empathize hugely when you have so many interests. Sometimes some of them you can't spin all the plates all at once, and so you go in different directions. But back when you did do it more proactively, what was the mission around it?
The mission at the time was that, again, I feel like I'm overusing the word, but I think that inspiration piece we talked about, and we thought about the fact. In fact, no, it's linked to, you know, when I talked earlier about growing up and certain, depending on your family background, you may have ready-made networks, you may not. One of the things that we're very conscious of is that people make introductions to each other, and via making introductions to each other, opportunities come up, whether that's job opportunities, whether that's business opportunities, whether it's just opportunities to be invited to a box at the O2, you know, different opportunities come up. And one of the things we were talking about at the time when we ideated this was that we need to come together more to create opportunities for each other. And so that was one of the, I guess, one of the sparks of why we created this. But the mission was ultimately to bring together a room of Black professionals, some more senior, some more starting out in their careers, to inspire each other, to create those connections where maybe we can mentor each other, to look at, are there opportunities to poach each other for roles. But also I think more just at the time as well, we're thinking, we know when Black people are in a room together, it's just vibes on vibes on vibes. And so it was partly social, it was partly professional, it was partly community driven. But it was when we did the first one, we had over 150 people turn up from a range of organizations, including ours, including some of the other high street banks, including your PwCs, your Deloitte, your McKinseys. I don't know that I've seen anything sort of on that scale from so many different corporate organizations. And it was such a beautiful thing. You're making me think now I need to go, we need to do it again.
Maybe this is the angle of my question because I missed out. So
I'm sorry you missed out.
so
Maybe after this offline, you and I can have a conversation, because to
yeah.
be fair, someone reached out recently from one of those organizations wanting to do something. So maybe this is again divine intervention leading me down a path. Watch
Yeah,
this space.
I think, yeah, because I know Seaberg, I've done some mentoring work with them, with Edwin over there, and the way that they bring people together, and in circle mentoring and bridging power, where, we got to meet as well, doing some amazing things. So it would be, yeah, it would be something. My word of the year, do you know what it is?
I don't actually.
I'm gonna actually, let's play this game. This is
Okay.
completely scripted, so let me try to think of how I'm gonna put. I'm asking this because I see some similarities between us in terms of like just enjoying life to the fullest and not being confined and constrained to a box. Like whatever skills and talents you have, I have, we try and bring into the world. So here I am, executive coach, also running a podcast, also public speaking. Also, I can't sing. If I could sing, we could do a duet, but I cannot. So early this year, I was asked by a group of coaches what my word for the year would be. Much like you'd have like New Year's resolutions and things, what have you. So I picked one, and I struggled at first because I was like, well, I've never played this game before. So if you had a word of the year, I'll share mine after. What would yours be?
I actually have a word of the year because I've been doing a word of the year for the past few years, and a couple of years ago, it was unsurprisingly, it was joy. My word of the year for this year well, no, it still is. It's elevate. So for me, I really wanted to focus this year on intentionally elevating certain avenues. So um, I keep mentioning the singing, but the reason I talk about it more openly now is because a couple of years ago I joined a band. I had the opportunity to join a band with some of the like quite senior colleagues in our organization, and had the opportunity to perform for a number of our senior colleagues, including our CEO. But equally, I want to do more singing and elevate my singing outside my outside interests. Equally, I think you and I have spoken about the fact that I love hosting events and I want to do more of that. So my focus for this year has been on elevating, I guess, myself to have the opportunity to do more of that in different spaces. And I've been had some incredible opportunities. I hosted the Investing in Women Code Signatory Summit, FFG Connect, Forbes Family Group, FFG Connect Radar event I hosted last month. Yeah, last month. And so it's been quite, I think when you have that focus and you create that word of the year, it's almost like you're setting the intention to force you down an avenue. Anyway, let me stop because you're going to tell me your word of the year now.
No, but this is way more interesting. This is way more interesting, and this is about you. It's not about me. I've got so it's way more interesting. I think it's such a powerful word, and you brought it to life again, just brilliantly. To swap you, because I did promise that, because I was going to skip past it, but you've asked. Mine actually is different. Mine's consolidation.
Ooh, I like that.
And that came about because I found that in my pivot to being an entrepreneur, and having some life events happen where I found myself redefining, well, what is this Kofi now? Like, who are you? And in going through the fallow period, I sat in the mud for a while and I thought, what seeds do I want to sow? And what I found was, in the early days, if it looked good, I was like, I want to be involved. 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 And that is wonderful. But that, yes, I want to be involved, at some point becomes due for payment. And so then there becomes this sort of tension between balance, but honoring the commitments that you made. And so I've trusted myself to say, what you are about, what's really important to you. Consider all these interests your babies. If you're going to pick up another baby, you're going to have to let go of one of your existing babies. So how about we consolidate and grow these babies that you've got? And then when they're old enough and they can do their own thing, move unassisted, etc., then maybe you could pick up another baby. And that's really helpful for me, who has FOMO and wants to be where the vibes are high. I've got responsibilities. Let me take care of them, because I can do lots of things, as you can, but I cannot do them all well. So that's why that is my word. Does that make sense?
Oh my gosh, you are resonating with me so hard. That whole thing around having all of these babies, I too need to consolidate. That might be 2027's word. Focus on 2 babies, not 20.
That's it. But look, sometimes I'm also a believer in abundance. I don't have this scarcity mindset. So I think that we can draw inspiration and energy at greater depths than we have ever imagined. So not all of us need to do what everyone else does. So multi-talented, multifaceted, it's good, but just what works for us, is the thing I'm saying here. Oh wow, quick time check. Okay, I have some more questions, so I've got to stop going off piece. Like I said, I told you this was going to happen.
Those are the best conversations, though. You don't have to ask all the questions, remember. We can do a write-up afterwards.
That's it. My middle name should be SideQuest because that
Mine too.
Let's good. Let me go over there and see what that's
remember, we're consolidating. We're not any more babies.
Right, consolidate and ask the questions that I need to ask. So, I come back to your career. Actually, I heard once that you took a career break to travel, which is not surprisingly because we talked about travel. Right before starting a major opportunity, and the hiring manager at the time waited for you. Is that right, or have I completely made this up?
That is correct. And again, I forget about these things sometimes, but no, that actually happened. I mean, it was a short career break. It was only 2 months, but still, it was at the time. I wanted to go on this adventure. I'd never taken the gap year as some people do. And I just wanted a bit of time to go and explore and do Southeast Asia. And I'm a sensible girly at heart. And I as much as a lot of my friends will say, "Oh, you're so brave, you're so adventurous," and I'm like, I'm adventurous in parameters. So I knew I couldn't afford to do a whole year off at that point in my career. Still can't. But I was like, actually, if I consolidate my holiday, we get quite decent holidays, but also add in a little bit of unpaid leave, I could go and do like a 2-month adventure and, just feel that wanderlust that I was feeling. I am Sagittarius rising, so that whole like wanderlust thing is deep seated within me. And again, it was just one of those weird divine timing moments. I'd got it all agreed with my boss at the time, who was really lovely. I was really excited to have my summer off and go travel in Southeast Asia. And I think this, at the time, I remember thinking, people talk so much about how important personal brand is and how when you show up with intention in certain areas and when you manifest and tell the universe what you want, it delivers it to you in an unexpected package. All of these things happened to me in this moment because at the time, I'd been talking about wanting to do more in the ethnic minority business space. I'd hosted a few events. I'd become what was termed at the time DEI queen because I was like, I did the most women in business events of all of my colleagues who are doing the same role as me. I did the most ethnic minority focused business events and was actively championing internally and externally that we should be doing more in this space. Anyway, I remember the day it happened. I was sitting I was in Pop Brixton with my colleague because we'd hosted an event there for like a networking event for business owners. And I got 3 emails almost at the same time from different colleagues where a role had come up to work with the head of business inclusion, who had created a new role that was essentially focusing on that, bringing the inclusion strategy together with the customer strategy, but really with an elevated focus for ethnic minority businesses. And it was almost like the stars were aligning, but also the fact that 3 separate people saw that job and thought, that's Sharniya's job, sent the role to me was probably at the time foreshadowing, but I didn't know this. So I applied for the job and I got an interview for the job. And I remember doing the interview knowing, because this was in the May and I was due to go off in the July, at the end of June, start of July for 2 months, as I said. And knowing that I was taking all this time off and fearing that perhaps someone wouldn't want to wait a whole 3 months for me because normally, you're at the time, sorry, what am I trying to say? Your working leave when you're moving to an internal role is around a month usually. So I was like, they might not want to wait that long for me. They might want to give it to someone else. So I did the interview anyway, the best of my ability. And then it was right at the end. I said, look, I just want to be really honest with you. I've booked this time off. I'm going to Asia. I appreciate if you need someone to start straight away, but I had to come and do the interview because I just couldn't let this job slip by, type thing. And the person who was interviewing really reassured me and was really lovely. And I think that's, again, the mindset of like a future focused leader and someone who wants the right person for the job and doesn't just want to quickly fill the job so they can get cracking. She was like, do you know what? She says, if you are the person that ends up being the the best person for this role. We will wait for you. You go enjoy your time. Obviously, she was doing other interviews, so she didn't know at that time that it would be my role. But she was like, "You go enjoy your time, and we will wait for you if we need to. Thank you for letting me know." And then a week later, I get the call to say, "We absolutely like loved you. Absolutely think you're the right person for this role. Really excited for you to go. Take your break, enjoy Asia, but come back refreshed, invigorated, ready to work." And I mean, sorry, the reason I'm probably so excited talking about it is because I totally forgot that this happened and you've reminded me. But I'm also being transported back to how I felt at the time because I
Yeah.
think things like that don't necessarily happen often. So I don't even know. It just felt amazing she was the type of person that was happy to do that, but equally that absolutely was the move that I was supposed to make at that time.
Mm. I'm virtually I'm getting the goosebumps that you are having now. I'm virtually getting that because when I don't know how to even phrase this. Let me find some words. It feels to me like alignment and
Mm.
um the old school radio is because I know we have not
We're up there in age.
the knob and then you get like the static and then you hit.
I don't know what she's talking about. I don't even know what cassette tapes are.
Oh my CDs, cassettes, the mini CD. So you twist it and you twiddle the knob and then it crackles and then you line up and it's high fidelity sound coming.
Yeah.
What you missed out there in that they waited for you was you were honest. You actually didn't hide your truth, which is you knew you were going away and you said it. And I can imagine for many people, and I've been in a position myself where you're scared to be honest and scared to be true to yourself because how might that be received? You may not get this, that, and the other. And why I say it's about alignment is because, bold as it may sound, when you are yourself, it lets your tribe know whether or not you are theirs. Or do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
if you had the kind of leader that would value someone who would be deceptive, etc., they wouldn't have appreciated that honesty. But if you had a leader that did value the similar values and that you were going to do this and was supportive, by you being honest, you get to identify real quickly, are
True.
we vibing? Are we on the same page? So that alignment becomes a partnership because it's now, I'm sharing my values. I want to be honest. You have the chance to tell me whether my values resonate with you or not. I want the job.
I want the job. Please give me the job, but also I'm going away. Bye.
No,
And the thing
honestly.
is, had I been a different type of person as well, I might have, cancelled my trip or been like, I'm going to prioritize work because this opportunity is coming up now. So I think that there's also something in the fact of the right timing for certain things, and that again, I think it's that following that joy, following that peace, following knowing what I needed in the moment and following that, because someone else might have said, "Oh my gosh, this is such a great opportunity. I'm not going to tell them. And if I get the job, I just won't go on the trip and I'll start the job because this is the job I want." And it's not to say that that's right or wrong, but for me, I knew that I needed that time, I needed that break, and I needed that experience that I got and that peace that I felt when I was in Asia. I was able to come back to work and feel, I think, more whole than I had been feeling before.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I'm so gutted because I've just glanced and I know I've got T minus 5 minutes. I'm going to 1.5 speed, as I promised you, ask you two questions and then we close. And so I won't do too much ad libbing here because I want to hear from you. Being multi-talented, as you have demonstrated and shown, I understand that you blog about your personal life, your travels, and of course, building communities, which you've talked about here. How do you hold all of that together without one part of you suffering, in terms of, I don't know, the burnout, the balance? Like, how do you keep it all going? Because there are many things that you're involved in and you're passionate about, right?
Yes, and I've got to be honest, I love the second half of that question because it just isn't true, unfortunately. I think being multi talented, multi interested in lots of different things, I I went to an event once and someone asked, and they were asking about it in relation to this person being a mother and then balancing work life, home life, or the responsibilities. And they said something that resonated with me. And I think I've just tried to follow that guidance. I don't think there is any such thing as balance, 100% balance. And when I say that, what I mean is sometimes you'll turn the dial up on certain things because at the moment that whether you need it or it's required of you, there's a big project coming up at work. You know, you've got to put in loads of hours, but you know that that's not forever. So you focus on that thing because that's the thing that's important in the moment. However, I also have moments where, like this year, I'm like, actually, I have been neglecting my singing a little bit. These are new goals that I want to pursue, like my public speaking, event hosting. So actually, I'm going to focus more on that now but that does mean that I won't have as much focus on other things. And I remember in the past, there was this whole thing around, oh, I don't know if you remember everyone talking about we all have the same 24 hours in the day as the I reframe that as we all only have 24 hours in the day, and the older you get, them 24 hours go faster and faster. So, and so actually, when I think about and it's not 24 hours because I only need 7 hours of sleep, but most people need 8 hours of sleep as a minimum. So you got to take that away already. So when you're left with, what's that, 16 hours? When you're left with those 16 hours that you're actually conscious, what can you do? What can you achieve? And I think that to pretend that those 16 hours I'm then going to divide by 4 and 4 are going to be for work and 4 are going to be for this and 4, that's just a fallacy. But I think if you can then look at the year as a whole, and you say, actually, I spent 3 months really focusing on work collectively, 3 months really focusing on family collectively, 3 months, for myself, my well-being collectively. That's where you can then look at how you achieve that balance as opposed to trying to balance 1 week because you can't.
Superb. This could be a whole theory, but I promise you, I'm not.
I could write it as a psychological theory and do a thesis, That's the next thing.
This is it. So about T-minus 120 seconds. So I'm going to ask the next question, but I'm really that's a great tip. Great tip for anybody listening. So last but not least, if a younger Sharniya, fresh out of university, uncertain about the path ahead, was sitting across from you right now, what's the one thing you'd want her to know that took you a while to learn?
For me, Sharniya that left university, and there's so many things I'd want to say to her. And I've done the thing where I've written to my 16-year-old self as well. But Sharniya, who left university, was 22. She definitely didn't know what she was going to do. I think the thing that I've learned that I would want her to know is talking to people is your absolute strength. Go and talk to people. Don't be scared to reach out. Just talk to them, because if they don't respond, worse off. But if they do respond, it can lead to magic.
Oh, what a powerful close to this. And thank you. And that, my friends, is exactly why I do this and love what I do, and do what I love. What a conversation. What a woman. What a reminder that purpose is not something you find overnight, but something you build brick by brick, pivot by pivot, with courage, with curiosity, and a genuine desire to lift others as you climb. So a huge thank you, Sharniya, for your time, honesty, heart, and humor as well. I'm going to go with all the H's there. I really hope this episode is going to spark something in anyone listening or watching it. And if they can, share it with other people that might need to hear some of the words that you shared today. So no, thank you once again. And I'll connect with you about which bits of life you want me to share, any blogs, any work related things, any public speaking things. I'll do that for you. But last word to you, really, because I feel like it's only apt to close with you closing, essentially.
Oh gosh, I feel put on the spot now. No, just thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this. I think it's so nice to be able to reflect on a career that has been amazing, but there's still so much left to do. And I think that times don't always feel like they're the greatest at the moment, but actually, I think that the future there's excitement to come, and there's beauty to come, and there's magic to come. I'm going to keep using the word magic. There is magic to come.
100%, 100%. Well, with your multi-talented abilities, I have no doubt that you will create some magic for other people along the way. So keep on keeping on, and that Sisyphean effort. I say it right.
Sisyphean.
That one is noted and observed, and has brought you to my attention, and hopefully brings you to even more people's attention, and they can do their own Sisyphean efforts to keep the world moving forward and a better place. Really, a better place. You know.
Thank you. Yes, definitely.
All right, so I'm 1 minute over. I'm gonna let you go so you can go and save the planet, and we'll catch up again soon. All right.
Thank you. See you soon.
All right. Take care. Bye bye.